We have a premium quarterback matchup in the NFL playoffs this week between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. This is a matchup that we could potentially be seeing for years. But I think the biggest story for the Chargers is going to be at the head coach position, because I've questioned whether or not the Brandon Staley has really left a positive impact on this Chargers team. My argument has been, simply put, how is it that a defensive head coach could have one of the worst defenses in the league and get away with it? Well, luckily for him, he has Justin Herbert, who kind of erases a lot of mistakes for him. Luckily for him, he finally got Joey Bosa back. So things might be turning around in a positive direction for Brandon Staley and the Chargers. They made the playoffs after all. But I still think that if the opportunity to upgrade the head coach position is there, i.e. Sean Payton, I think that might be a move that the Chargers should make regardless of how the season finishes. Kyle, what do you think?
I think you put a good qualifier in there, because I think practically Dean Spanos ain't paying nobody to not work. I will put that out there first and foremost. He's not paying people to not work for him. But at the same time, if Sean Payton were to be in the ballpark for the Chargers and lured by the potential of coaching Justin Herbert, which is, by the way, a pretty good reason to want to come out of retirement and make a move to another team, especially a team that's in the playoffs this year, favored to beat the Jaguars. So maybe, I don't think that game's as much of a foregone conclusion, but at favored to beat the Jaguars, I mean, certainly that's a desirable job.
Let me say this. If they lose to the Jaguars, I think the decision becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not as down on Brandon Staley as you are. I think that he's kind of just, I don't really know what to do with Brandon Staley at this point. I mean, he prisoner dilemma the Chargers out of the playoffs last year, but that's one moment that I could point to. He has been fine so far. I've seen no evidence that he's so bad that they need to move on from him. But also, yeah, he's kind of vanilla. I don't really have evidence either way on Brandon Staley, other than the funny moment of him prisoner dilemmaing the Chargers out of the playoffs last year. But I mean, they went 11-6 they went 10-7. They lost that game to the Broncos, but they went 10-7 this year. They're a fine football team, and I don't know what to do with Staley at this point. But if Sean Payton were available, that would make the decision a whole lot easier.
And Sean Payton is available. Sean Payton has put it out there that he's interested in pursuing a job. He's just looking for the right job. And when you have a quarterback that, not saying he's a Hall of Famer at all by any means right now, but at least has that potential Hall of Fame pedigree, what you look for in a blue chip quarterback in Justin Herbert, I think that that's the type of thing that, if you're Sean Payton, you have to be looking at. And if you're Dean Spanos, I know we have a lot of fun joking at Dean Spanos' expense about being cheap. And it is true. Dean Spanos is cheap. What do they pay? $1 a year to occupy SoFi? Some weird lease agreement they have. But this is a window to really take over Los Angeles. Because you look at the Rams have their one championship, right? But the Rams, now with the news coming of Sean McVay potentially leaving, they may be going down a road of not being relevant for quite a while. Justin Herbert is always going to keep the Chargers somewhat relevant. If I compare him with a coach that I think adds value, if I can capitalize and win playoff games, maybe win a championship, then suddenly to a whole new generation of fans, some that have long forgot about the San Diego Chargers, to a whole new generation of fans, I might be able to capitalize on a market. I might be able to capitalize on a chasm in the sports viewing attendance. I might be able to be that cool brand in Los Angeles. I already have the sickest jerseys in the NFL. Why not just go all in, push all my chips in? Because if I was a poker player, this would be my push all my chips in moment whenever I saw what I have in Justin Herbert, see that Sean Payton's out there. If I could just make this happen, I feel like this would be the opportunity to capitalize for the Los Angeles Chargers. Because, again, I said regardless of result, what is the high end for the Chargers in this year's playoff? Okay, maybe they beat Jacksonville. Cool. As the 5 seed, I guess their next matchup would be Kansas City, probably. We've seen Kansas City beat them couple times. They play the Chiefs tough, but I still think ultimately if they lost that game, you get swept by Kansas City 3 times in the same year. I think that that's kind of also another red flag for moving on from Brandon Staley, because you have to start winning those games. You have to at least make that kind of more of a toss-up every once in a while. And I feel as though this is where we see kind of like the difference between Andy Reid and Brandon Staley too. Sean Payton would close that gap. Sean Payton is regarded as one of the better offensive minds in the NFL, very close to Andy Reid. It was always Andy Reid or Sean Payton. Well, they're kind of close. I kind of like both. I feel as though if I did that, if I had another Hall of Fame coach to a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, then suddenly the AFC West kind of seems a little bit more close.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing I've said consistently is that, like, and I still believe this, Kansas City is going to win 15 AFC West titles in 16 years. They're going to dominate that division the way that the Patriots dominated the AFC East, because they have the greatest quarterback to ever pick up a football and the greatest offensive coach in the sport. But if you gave me Justin Herbert, who, again, like you said, if not a tier 1 quarterback, he's certainly a tier 2 top 5 quarterback, and you gave me Sean Payton, a clear Hall of Fame coach, I mean, it's not quite Mahomes and Andy Reid, but at that point we'd be talking about semantics a little bit. And if you do some good things in the margins, maybe you can catch Kansas City. You can catch them sleeping, because Kansas City, you know, maybe doesn't hit on a draft pick or something. Like you could maybe catch them sleeping and have something cool come out of that. So yeah, no, I agree with your point about that. Like, if they could get Sean Payton, go get Sean Payton, and that's as close as you're going to get to being Kansas City. And also, it's uniquely personal for me. I'm from San Diego. I quit that Chargers narcotics 6 years ago, and I am a happier, healthier person for not rooting for the Chargers anymore. It helps that I happen to like Patrick Mahomes and he brought me back into football. But even if I didn't have that, I would be a healthier, happier human being for not rooting for the Chargers. And trust me, even if they get that close, there's that inner child in me that knows they're never going to get it. They're never going to get it because they're the Chargers and they're cursed for all of eternity. And no matter what good things they do, they will be cursed. But this is a classic case of, regardless of the results, right process. If you can get Sean Payton, even if you can get, like, I don't know who the next guy in line would be behind Sean Payton, like who the second best coach is, but there are upgrades to be had from Brandon Staley. It's not like Brandon Staley is this guy. Like, he performed to expectations last year, and I'd argue he performed to expectations this year. They went all in on the roster, and it kind of dropped him into, yeah, we can maybe make the second round of the playoffs, which, by the way, great successful season. Like, you're not Kansas City, you're not Buffalo, you're not Cincinnati, still a successful season.
And Staley will never add value to this Chargers team in the sense of he's not going to make Justin Herbert a better quarterback. I just don't think that he has the offensive mindset to do that and make a transformative change for Justin Herbert to move up the quarterback tier ladder. And as far as the defense, he hasn't shown an ability to improve that defense, which is the side of the football that we associated him with when he got hired. So what do you do here? It's kind of like that Office Space meme. What exactly do you do? That's my question for Brandon Staley.
So the only other thing I can think of is, like, is he one of these Sean McDermott types where he's in every room and he's great locker room guy and someone who's a leader, like, you know, people hires good people behind him and is a leader at the top? I don't think he's that. So yeah, I think it's kind of like, well, we know that he's the leader, but it doesn't feel like he's adding any value in any places. And as you've pointed out before, if anything, he's taking value away from the Chargers.
So anyway, guys, what do you think? Do you think that the Chargers should look to enhance their head coach position, regardless of what Brandon Staley does this weekend or moving forward in the playoffs? Let us know below in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to our channel at @SlumpusPod, @SlumpusPodcast. From Juju, Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time.